story of Allison Holker. She is the a wife of Stephen Twitch Boss, right? Stephen Twitch Boss. So he actually was the DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show
Yep, I
for
remember.
many seasons, right? Very nice guy, fun, super dancer.
You've interviewed him
I've
before.
interviewed him
Right.
before. We had a great interview. Really fun guy, talented. We had a great conversation. Spoke to him a couple times on the phone, and we really loved him and Allison together. They both met on the set of So You Think You Can Dance, and their love actually was formed on that show. That's where they met. Great dancers. He always said that she was a better dancer than him. But they were so phenomenal, and America really fell in love with both of them, and it was great to see that love come together. Even when I interviewed him and everyone spoke who met him and spoke to him, they saw the love in his eyes and the joy of life. I mean, you could tell that he really loved his family and he loved his wife, and everybody thought it was like a perfect marriage, which
Right.
it really was. But unfortunately, it was like, I guess, a little over 2 years ago now that he actually, unfortunately, he committed suicide. It came to be that we found out that he was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and unfortunately, he shot himself, and it was just so sad. I remember when I heard the news, it was just so devastating because, you can see someone smiling and you think that they have everything, going on in their life, and their life is great, but you really don't know, right? It's just so many people who deal with this, with mental health issues, and end up committing suicide. It's just devastating to family and friends, and it's the worst thing. So it just came out in the news recently, though, that Allison, who obviously we lost Stephen years ago, that she now found new love again, right? She went online and she put like a photo, like a kind of a shadow picture of herself, and like, I guess, like a man. Couldn't really see his face, but she is now opened up, and she's speaking a lot about mental health, and she kept his name going, and there's so many organizations that she opened up in his name. So she's living through him and keeping his name alive and keeping mental health at the top forefront of what she's doing in her life. But everyone is saying that she does need love again. So apparently she found someone, and everyone coming out online and saying, "Oh, good for you."
Yep.
There's new beginnings, and they're happy for her and everything that she's been through. And I'm happy as well too. It's great, but I guess it just brings me to the question I wanted to ask you about, like, how soon do you think that it's time to date again after you've lost your wife or lost your husband? Like, when do you think is a good time to date again?
When you are ready. Right? Like, I don't know. I don't believe there's a canned answer. Right? I think when you are emotionally there, and the loss of a loved one is going to affect everyone differently. So that timeline is going to be different.
Yeah.
How we deal with that, all of the ancillary feelings that we may feel in relation to that. Not to mention just just all of the personal things that you have to kind of navigate through, right?
Yeah.
I suspect in many cases that's going to actually change your life, right? When you're ready, then so be it. And I think also too, I think we have to also consider that maybe the person living had a conversation or two with the person that's deceased, right? Maybe they said, "Hey, one of us goes, or if I go, live your life, move on, right? I don't want you doing blank. I don't want you doing this." Maybe they made commitments and promises to each other. Who knows? So I certainly hope, I'm glad that you said that folks are happy for her, right? And folks not coming at her because she found happiness somewhere else. Because I generally do believe that it's up to that person. It's got to be hard enough to go through that, the loss of a loved one, especially under these circumstances, right? if you break out and get to the other side of all of that darkness and you find someone, I'd say, God bless you, man. God bless you. If you can capture that again after that level of loss, yeah, please, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's hard. Yes, there are a lot of people that are happy for her. And I think there are another population of the people that it's not that they're not happy, but I think there are some times that are, that the people are not maybe necessarily ready, especially when you have loved ones out there, and people that people looked up to and they were fans of theirs, and he was an amazing person, a great father. But you see situations that happen the same thing, like with Vanessa Bryant when she lost Kobe. People look up to people like Steven and Kobe, and they love them and they adore them so much, and they love them as couples. So I think for some people, it's hard to see when the widowers are moving on to a new person, and sometimes they're not able to accept it, right? I've known lots of people, married couples that I've known, maybe the husband and the wife is, they lost their husband, and then I've seen them move on, and I'm like, I feel like a little something in my heart. Well, that was my dude, that was my guy, and it's like, it's that you want them to be happy, obviously, because you love them, but what's that feeling? I don't know how to explain it. Like the feeling where it's like, it's not like you don't want. I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm like lost of words. Like I don't. It makes me feel kind of a way when I actually see them moving on. Like what is it that I'm feeling? What do you think?
Listen, I agree that there's probably something there, right?
What is it?
I'm not sure what it is, other than we want what we want, and they were a couple. I like him, I like her, I like them together, right? Like you just want it the way that you want it. But life goes on, man. Like I think we would be in far more pain, us personally, if we saw that person not coming out of that, not moving on, right? Yeah. And it appears that they were still in mourning. It's got to be tough, right? And I think if we are able to remove ourselves and just pour ourselves into the person that's dealing with it, right? The person that's here, that's got to be incredibly difficult. Yeah. When you were mentioning some folks that had maybe gone through it, immediately came to mind, believe it or not, was Jacqueline Kennedy, right? I mean, her husband was literally murdered on television, right? And so it goes from Kennedy to Onassis, right? Like she moved on. I mean, who was more famous than him, right? At one point, right? When that happened, sure. And especially under the circumstances, murdered in front of you, all of that, right? She found a way to move on, and so it obviously it is possible. And again, I go back to, you don't know what the conversations were like between a couple or two people.
I think maybe when they're older, I can see that happening. But in the case of Allison and Twitch, and like let's say Vanessa and Kobe, when they're so young, I can't see those conversations. I mean, they could, but I just don't see it, because they don't see the death coming. So no one's prepared for death.
Well, I was going to say probably even more so. You say you don't see it, but I'm saying even more so when you're young. And we're both seniors, it's probably less thought around how many more years does someone have, right? I would imagine being young-ish, married, are you going to remarry? You should remarry again. Let me just be clear, right? God forbid something happens to me. If you find someone, right, so be it. I don't want you feeling like you can never continue with that part of your life. Right. I'm in this relationship with you. I know the amount of love that you have and are capable of giving. You should experience that again as well. Now that could be a real conversation.
It could be.
You know what I mean? You just don't know. Listen, I think back, and it's a little personal, but I remember when my grandmother was alive. Mm-hmm. And so my grandmother, I remember saying, I was a kid, and said, "Gram, you passed away. I'm going to really miss you." Mm-hmm. And she looked at me and said, "You should." And kind of laughed because she was always quick with it. You should miss me. She goes, but she says, "But don't cry for me." Mm. She says, "Cry for those who are here. I'm going home to glory, going home to paradise.
Nice.
No need to cry for me. Mm-hmm. So don't cry for me."
Right.
Now, maybe she didn't mean it exactly how I heard it. But as a young boy, and I grew up to be a man by the time she passed away, as difficult as it was, sitting there in that church, funeral, it wasn't a dry eye in that place except mine, because I felt like this was something that I had promised to her and I would never do. Mm-hmm. Now, if Jay didn't know and Jay saw me, Jay would be like, "Man, well, Kay's not upset. Mm-hmm. Man, I thought he really loved his grandmother." Right? But what Jay didn't know is the conversation that little Kay and his grandmother had, and it was a promise that I was keeping to her. This is a true story, man. No. And so this is why I'd say we all, I think we need to be careful when we see how people react to when people lose loved ones. Or, well, they didn't this, they didn't show emotion. They didn't. You have no idea. 'Cause like I said, if you had just saw me in that, you would have thought, well, what's going on? How come he's not crying? Everybody else is crying. So,
well, your grandmother, and I understand, I think there was a little bit of a different dynamic in that relationship. But yes, I can see your grandmother would definitely want you to be happy, right? And not to mourn, obviously, everybody knows that you're going to be upset when you lose their loved ones. They know when they pass away that their relatives that they leave behind is going to be upset. And she's going to want you to be happy and stuff like that. But that's a dynamic between your grandmother and you. But I feel like with relationships with husbands and wives, I know, God forbid I pass away, and I'm gonna pass away one day, but if I do get married and I pass away, there's a small part of me, I don't want my wife moving on.
That's because you're a selfish motherfucker.
I am a selfish son of a bitch sometimes. Yeah. Yes, I am. But I mean, no, listen, there's part of me that is not gonna want her. I know I might sound like an ass.
Oh my God!
I'm just
no. It's not might. You don't might. You might say. You sound like an ass.
I mean, there's part of me
selfish shit, dog.
I am listen. I own up to it. I am a little selfish. Oh man! But there is part of me
now I get it. Okay.
that Doc, can you help me out here? Can you weigh in on this a little bit? God forbid, when you pass away and you're married, is there a part of you that's going to be feeling a little bit like, I don't quite want my wife to move on?
Why don't you ask Doc the real question? Is he a selfish motherfucker?
Well, Doc already knows that. But I want to know what Doc thinks about that, because I don't think I am the only one who might feel like that. Doc, what do you say?
Move on.
Yes.
Keep it moving. I'm not here, Hell, keep it moving when I am here. If that's the case, I don't know.
Oh, we going to a whole nother topic.
Doc took a moment. He took a moment to respond. I almost lost me for a minute. I was holding my breath. I'm like, whoa, I don't need two of you guys.
Oh no. Doc is with me.
He just said no. Move on, man. Move on.
Definitely You're move on. I mean, I would not want someone to hold on like that part. They're holding on to, I died, so I'm not going to be with anyone else ever. That's kind of crazy to me. I'm not here anymore. Mm-hmm. Just do something with your life, man. Move on. I would not want to burden somebody with that. Get out of here with that. Move. Do something with your life and, make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I think, listen, at the end of the day, I wouldn't want her to not move on with her life and everything like that. I could tell you one thing. You see what Vanessa is doing. I have not heard of anything. I have not heard her dating at all. I don't know if I missed it, but I haven't heard Vanessa Bryant dating at all.
Listen.
And I'm not saying that's a good thing that she's not. I'm just saying I haven't heard it, but it is even difficult for me to see situations like that
Oh.
with Allison, with Vanessa, with moving on. It's just different just because, you know, I love those guys. I looked up to those guys and everything like that. So it just feels kind of a way. But I do understand. Don't get me wrong, people. I do understand that they have to move on and things like that. It's just a funny feeling. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not mad at you on Vanessa Bryant, bro. Listen, I'm not saying that she shouldn't move on 100%. But that's just going to look hella weird if she pulls up at the red carpet with somebody else on her arm, right?
Yeah.
Like, just listen.
Right.
Just imagine Coretta King. You know, Martin's passed away. Coretta King show up with some other dude, right?
Yeah, that's Martin's woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You know
that's
what I mean?
Kobe's woman.
Right.
And
So-
that's
and they
Steven
should
Twitch's woman.
And
right.
they should still move on. I'm not advocating they shouldn't.
I know.
But
It's-
it's a little bit different to look at. But I'm okay with her doing that. Especially, listen, I get it. And I'm glad that she's found someone and comfortable enough to even put a shadow or silhouette or something online.
Right.
That's cool. I mean, that's big, right?
She's not quite yet ready to show his face.
Right.
I just hope in those situations that they are not men who knew Steven Twitch boss or knew Kobe or were their teammates or their colleagues or their boy or I really feel something bad there. I'll just put it there.
I know.
I'm fine with any other man, but don't be my boy. Don't be my brother. No, because I am gonna hex your ass from heaven. I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, I'm just don't be those kind of boys.
So first of all, the notion you going to heaven just makes
I'm going to heaven.
Makes
Because God loved me.
Makes me
God loved me, and I love God.
Like,
I'll be there one day.
The
I'm not quite
idea-
ready to go yet, but when I go, I'm going there, God.
The idea of you going to heaven just blows away everything I've ever thought about heaven. If you're
Oh,
going in,
you want to be
you're
there with me, don't
if
you?
you can get in,
I'll
I've
let you
got
in.
to
I'll let you
redo
in.
my list.
I will let you
There's
in,
a
bro.
ton of people that I didn't think were there, but if you're there, if you can get in.
Listen.
I know they're there. So.
You know you can get in there too. Listen, I'm your brother. I'll make some calls. You can get in there.
Really?
Yeah. I'll make some calls.
Me standing outside the pearly gate going, is Jay here? Go get Jay.
Right. And please listen. And do not, God forbid, I get married and I go. Don't date my woman if I'm up in heaven, because you and I gonna have a problem.
I have no
I will
desire.
spook your ass.
I have no desire to date the women that you like in life.
Okay. No, I'm talking about my
And
wife
in
that I
death.
left here. My
And
wife
in
that I
death.
left here.
Doesn't matter, bruh. You're gonna marry the same.
Wait,
kind
my
of
wife ain't good enough for you to marry when I'm gone?
No. I suspect you're gonna marry the same women that you date. I
Jay-
got no.
Jay's
desire.
getting
I ain't
upset. He
marrying
just
the women that I date.
He just told you not to mess with her. Then he gets upset that you're gonna
That
marry
I
her.
don't want to mess with her. Right?
Yeah. Is there something wrong with my wife, Doc?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. I've seen some of the women, so we're good. No, you ain't got nothing to worry about, bruh.
you see some of the women.
Yeah,
Let me not go. Okay.
Nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Not that the women are bad. I want to make sure because I know some of them. Not that they're bad. We just have different tastes.
We've dated some of the same women.
Oh, Jay. Okay, we are going to change the topic.
You know what I'm saying? And now we want to attack some of my women, and we dated some of the same women.
yeah.
Good Lord. Anyways,
It's always got to make shit weird. Man. Always. Just because it happens doesn't mean you need to talk about it.